Hello, everybody. We'll start in just a minute. So I know it's kind of a weird night to be doing this, but some major stuff has happened. Some major stuff has happened that I kind of wanted to cover. So we're going to there's a lot of stuff that's gonna go that we need to talk about. We'll see how quick we can get through it all, shall we? Let's see. I'm just trying to get the chat to work. Why is the chat not working? Why is the chat not working? So there is an outside chance. I'm not saying it's going to be for certain or anything like that, but that we could have something really big happen in the next 2 weeks or so. I don't know if it necessarily would. I don't think it'll bring the war to conclusion, but it could. Something very big might be coming. So we will start off. I'll get the chat up while I'm working through this. Okay, so what am I talking about? Oh, I screwed up the title of this. It's supposed to be Bridge on the River on the Kirch Strait. It's too bad. If anyone knows what I'm referencing by Bridge on the Kirch Strait, please post. I'll explain what it is in a moment. But let me just get the chat up. So there's a couple major things that are happening in Russia over the next week or so. We have Orthodox Easter, we have Putin's reinauguration, and we have the what's it called again? The Victory Day parade. So we have three really big things going on with Russia in the next week or so. I mean, after next week. So if Russia was going to launch a major offensive, it's a reference to the movie Bridge on the River Kwai. So if you haven't seen Bridge on the River Kwai, I do recommend seeing it. It's an all-time classic movie. Bridge on the River Kwai, which is which has Alec Guinness among lots of other great actors, and it's considered one of the best movies ever made. So there's like a bunch of prisoners of war, and they're going to be used as slave labor to build a bridge across the River Kwai. Now, they're initially going to do a bad job, but they eventually just become obsessed with with building the bridge. And they just try and more to make it like as good as possible. This desperately releases exempting them from manual labor. Nicholson, shocked by the poor job his men have done, orders building a proper bridge. He considers it a tribute to the British Army's integrity, but someone else argues it's collaboration with the enemy. Then they just become obsessed with the whole thing. And they wind up building this really nice bridge, and I think they start fighting each other over the bridge because they want to blow it up. Basically, the British soldiers just kind of lose it, and they become obsessed with the production of the bridge over the River Kwai. And that seems to be where we are at the moment. There is this is the new plan. So, like I said, we have Orthodox Easter, Putin's reinauguration, Victory Day parade, all coming next week. Now, Putin, generally speaking, takes holidays, Christian Orthodox holidays, very seriously. So I somewhat doubt that he's going to be launching an offensive prior to Orthodox Easter, given how close it is. Also, reinauguration, he wants to get that out of the way. And Ukraine is on it, though. They're going to go for regime change. They are going to go for broke. They're going to regime change Putin in the next couple days. So the big thing that Ukraine has recently got is ATACMS, which are, I believe, they're cruise missiles that are launched from a HIMAR. So, Ukraine has already used fresh long range missiles provided by the US and Russian controlled Crimea. So these were the missiles that they illegally gave to Ukraine. So once again, just to take a step back. So of the $61 billion, only about I don't know, 10 billion or so is going to go to Ukraine. What it came out is that the U.S. has been giving the Ukrainians weapons this whole time. It's just there was no funding for it. So Biden was just going into and raiding the American stocks and just shipping it to Ukraine without telling anybody. But now that they've passed the 61 billion, that covers all the stuff that they illegally gave to Ukraine without congressional approval. So one of the things they said is the ATACMS, or the long-range cruise missiles. And the goal, and this has always been the goal, is to destroy the Kirch Bridge. ATACMS are ballistic missiles? Sorry, okay. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, that's my bad. I got them mixed up with something else. So they got the long-range version, and the goal is to destroy the Kirch Bridge. So if you don't know what the Kirch Bridge is, the Kirch Bridge was a bridge that Russia built across Crimea from the what is it? The Dunban? Is it Dunvan? Taman. The Taman Peninsula to connect Russia with Crimea, because for a long time you didn't have. I'm just trying to find a map of it. Here we go. So there's Crimea, and there's Taman. So there was not a direct crossing between the two of them. There was not a land bridge between Russia and Crimea. I mean, there eventually is one now. So for the first 2 years or so that Crimea was part of Russia, they were just supplying Crimea through air and sea. So then I think it was in 2018, after 4 years or so, they finished the Kirch Bridge. And that provides a rail and car link between the rest of Russia and Crimea. And it's been the obsession to destroy the Kirch Bridge ever since. And they've hit it repeatedly. And what they think is, if they can somehow destroy the Kirch Bridge, then this will cause regime change in Russia. And this is pretty much the exact logic we're dealing with. So, yeah, the new missiles can strike further away. Ukraine targeted, so they're obsessed with trying to take Crimea. They think if they can attack Crimea or whatever, it's going to work. So I don't really get what the point is even of taking the bridge down, other than it being symbolic. Because once again, Russia was able to supply Ukraine for well over a year, for 4 years by the sea. So I don't know why they couldn't do that again. Also, Russia has over the last year been building railroad lines down over the land bridge into Crimea. And those can't be sunk. And even if you damage them, they can't really be destroyed. They can just be repaired. So now Russia has a logistical line that goes overland. I mean, the Kirch Bridge is still nice. I mean, it saves a lot of transit time. But if it was destroyed, then it wouldn't significantly impact. It wouldn't make Crimea starve or anything like that. Also, there's an argument to be made that the military doesn't really use it anymore, and it's entirely civilian. So I think that might technically be a war crime. I'm not really sure, to be honest. So, what they think is going to happen is, if they can use the ATACMS, and we're going to look at our friend David Axe here in a second, then it's going to be humiliating. Then the people of Russia are going to rise up. we're going to have regime change in Russia, and the Putin is going to be defeated, and Russia will be divided up into pieces, and like part of it will go to BlackRock, part of it will go to Boeing, etc. Now, before we get into the David Axe piece, okay, so what's been going on along the front line? Russia has been pushing very hard all across the front line. We aren't into like big aero offensive territory yet, but it's getting to the point where they're capturing a couple villages or a couple smaller towns every day. And we've kind of gone from the point where it would take months or weeks to capture stuff to the point where they're consistently moving. Now, I've heard a lot of reports that entire Ukrainian units have started to surrender. I don't know how widespread that is, but a couple full battalions did. And more of them are just running away. Some of the regiments are refusing to go into battle because they're just kind of being thrown in with little training. But if we go down to Deep State UA, yeah, like here we go. This is a good example. How much this is like Avdiivka was not that long ago, and they've kind of completely broken out, and they're just kind of overrunning this whole area. And once again, they're also pushing in the south in Robotyno. They're pushing up around Makarivka, and it's just all across the front line. And Ukraine's having to divide its forces. So, yeah, and then also pushing around Bakhmut. Now, Russia has been gathering a secondary army. I don't know. I'm just going to call it Army Group North. And Army Group North has been building up around this area. And Russia's been pretty constantly hitting Kharkov for the last 6 months or so. They've basically got it to a point where if they want to, they can completely cut off electricity to it. So it's widely believed that at some point, Russia is going to launch a big aero offensive and take Kharkov. And that's going to be the next strategic objective. With it being the second largest city in Ukraine and a major economic hub. So the question is whether Zelensky's government will survive that. If after next week, when we have the various events that get out of the way, Putin decides to launch a big aero offensive, and just try to just surge forward through the battered Ukrainian lines, I don't think they really have much in the way of defense works otherwise. I mean, Kharkov is a big city, so it's going to be a pain to take, but it's not like they have anything similar to Avdiivka or Bakhmut built up. So I don't know if Zelensky's government can survive that. Once again, they're just kind of surging down here. I don't know, at some point Russia might decide to launch a big aero offensive and try to cut large numbers of Ukrainian units out, because we are starting to see almost a salient starting to form. Now, once again, there isn't any major. There's very limited fortifications between here and the sea, between there and the Dnieper. Zaporozhye is also very close, and it can be attacked at any time. See, because Russia has a significant advantage in manpower and firepower, because they're attacking on so many fronts, Ukraine has to divide their soldiers up. And in most cases, Russia has an overwhelming firepower advantage. Now, Syrsky, of all people, has admitted this. And Syrsky is known for being wildly optimistic to the point of being completely delusional, and for throwing his men into battle when there's no chance of winning. Let's see here. $61 billion, but new U.S. weapons are yet to make their way to the front lines, although they actually have been making their way to the front lines this whole time. He confirmed Ukrainian forces had withdrawn to some positions in the area of Donetsk that had been formed as part of a defensive line. Um, yeah, so Zach, like, Putin has consistently said he will negotiate. Like, they said that since the very beginning of this war, and they said it very soon. It just he said that the Russian UN ambassador just said, look, it has to acknowledge the situation on the ground. The terms we're going to impose are going to be much harsher than they would have been previously, and that's just because they're losing, and there's not really much we can do. Like, it's about it. And they won't negotiate with Russia. They won't seek a surrender. They won't seek terms. America is determined to just indefinitely keep this thing going as long as possible. And as we're going to see, they're like tripling, quadrupling down. So yeah, they're losing. Moscow has okay. So he said Moscow has secured tactical success in some sectors. So that is definitely it's definitely a bit more than that. They've moved like 10 kilometers. Oops, why does it keep loading that? So Pentagon said it would rush Patriot air defense missiles and artillery ammunition to Ukraine, but there just isn't enough. So we have just admissions that the situation on the front line is getting really bad. Now, Ukraine passed a mobilization bill. That the U.S. forced them to pass, which reduces the where is it? They're reducing the age of conscription from 27 to 25, which really didn't do very much. So Ukraine passed a bill that if you are between the ages of 18 and 16 and reside outside of the country, they will be taking away all of your consular services. So you will not be able to have legal status or access, I think, any of your funds, unless you go back and fight in the army. So issuing new passports and delivering consular services for Ukrainian men of fighting age abroad. Now, some people might say that participating in deporting refugees to a country where they're going to be thrown into battle and die would be against European values, but it's really for European values. So they're just going forward. Yeah, so they're they're gonna basically be forced to come back at some point in time. So that stuff is happening. So let's take a look. So we have our friend David Axe. You know what? I wonder. I'm just gonna check something. Is David Axe who he... Okay, let's see here. Is he... No, he's just a delusional neocon. Wait. Maybe he is. Is this the same David Axe? Actually, he might be. I don't know. It's an interesting question. But anyways, back to David X. After months of delay, Ukraine soon should be getting a big new contingent of long-range precision missiles from the United States. Okay, so ATACMS and other Western-made deep strike munitions. Ukraine finally is in a position to do what it's been threatening to do for years now: drop the strategic Kirch Bridge, which connects southern Russia to Russian-occupied Crimea, and provided a vital supply for Russian forces in southern Ukraine. When Russia forces captured much of southern Ukraine... Okay, so basically, he's going over the Kirch Bridge. Let's see here. I'm just trying to find it. Okay, so here we go. All this is to say, Ukraine has already mostly cut the original supply line into Crimea, the landing ship's shuttle, and could soon have munitions suitable for cutting the second original supply line, the Kirch Bridge. After more than 2 years, that plan for strangling Russian forces in southern Ukraine could finally come to fruition. Next year's Ukrainian counteroffensive would have had a real chance of success. See, we're going to have another counteroffensive because the last one worked so well. We're going to have the counteroffensive 2 Electric Boogaloo, counteroffensive, the Zelensky cut. They built a new rail line. No, well, they apparently destroyed one boat. Let's see, where is the boat? They destroyed like one boat. Where is it? Okay, so they've damaged, if not sunk, 8 of the landing ships. That is apparently a majority of the ammunition transports that Russia was using. So the people in Crimea are completely cut off. Russia has no more ships they can bring in. Aircraft don't exist. Russia doesn't have aircraft. They sunk the entire thing. So basically what he's saying is if they had have given it quicker, Ukraine blew up the entire Russian Black Sea fleet, and that they had destroyed the Kirch Bridge, then Crimea would have starved, and that would have ended the war somehow. The new rail line, it would be a simple matter for Ukraine to hit the line with an ATACMS or Storm Shadow, but it's even a simpler matter for Russia to send up a train with some engineers and repair it. Overland railways are extremely hard to knock out for any length of time, no shit. Ukraine could sink the last few surviving Russian landing ships, because this is a naval war, and knock down the Kirch Bridge with ATACMS and still fail to throttle the flow of supplies to the Russians on the line in Zaporozhye and along the Dnipro, because trucks don't exist. I get that rail is much, much more efficient than trucks, but like, so is the idea that if the Russians wouldn't have used trucks to deliver the stuff? Also, I don't even know what are we talking about, like this? I don't even know. It's just retarded. A logistics first was viable. It's probably not viable now. Ukraine brigades, so yeah, save Putin from losing the war. So they were going to win the war. Ukraine would have won if they had have gotten the ATACMS earlier and attacked the Kirch Bridge and then all this other. It's just fucking nuts. So that is the plan. They're gonna destroy the Kirch Bridge, and it's gonna cause a cascade of failure that's gonna result in a regime change in Russia. So that's the new plan. So we're going to come to this could be the gayest of gay ops. I think honestly, this is the gayest of the gay ops I think I've ever seen. This is the syndicated reparation loan. Now, what that kind of reminds me of, actually, you know what? Before we get into it, there is something else I wanted to look at because we missed it. I was going to cover this last time, but this was let's see here. Was it this one? I'm trying to find. Okay, Dmitry Medvedev. Okay, so I'm just trying to find it. This was like the most delusional one I've seen in a while. Is this it? No, that's not it. I'm just trying to find it because there was one that was basically saying that like they were on the verge of winning again. I think part of the problem is they've done so much insane propaganda. It's kind of hard at this point in time to back down from it. Because they've been telling everybody they've been winning for like the last 2 years. And if they said, no, we aren't actually living, it's going to cause a riot. I'm just trying to find, is this it? Because there was one where they were talking about, here we go. Okay, this is insane. Let's look at this. It is 2026, and in a downbeat speech from the Kremlin, Putin finally announces a withdrawal from Ukraine. Russian troops have done their best or worst, but a fresh influx of well-trained Ukrainians has finally prevailed. The Donbass is in Kiev's grip. Crimea's fall is only days away. What has turned the tide? It's not the long-awaited F-16s or Washington switching the funding back on. Instead, it's the presence of thousands of European troops across Ukraine's western half, protecting cities, ports, and borders, making Ukraine feel reassured and Russia unnerved. As Kiev celebrates, Europe quietly pats itself on the back. After 80 years clutching America's coattails, it finally stepped up to win a war in its own backyard. So this is the plan. That now a growing bloc of countries open to direct European intervention in the war, which, I mean, they aren't. So Macron is obviously in favor of this. Intervention, the authors insist, is not as apocalyptic as it sounds. That's always a bad sign when they start off with that. Article 5 wouldn't be triggered because the countries would be acting in Europe's name, not NATO's. I'm sure that is a gay op. I'm not going to lie. The Euroforce would stay hundreds of miles back, most likely west of the river Dnipro, the waterway that divides Ukraine into... Did they rename the Dnipro the Dnipro? Is that what that is? So, apparently... Okay, so if Europe sent troops into western Ukraine, then they would free up Ukrainian troops who would go fight Russia, and Russia would immediately lose. Now, this following quote should be on the grave of Project Ukraine. So what could possibly go wrong? Not much. According to the authors, who say the risk that deploying European soldiers will escalate the conflict is overblown. It's a very good idea, and the Western nations would learn valuable lessons from it, even if it is just helping with logistics and maintenance, he said. If Ukraine starts to... If they start to lose the war, He's not sure that European boots in Western Ukraine. Let me find the Medvedev quote about this. Where is it? I'm trying to find the he was like saying he was going to put a bounty on NATO soldiers. Here we go. Yes. Russia's former president is calling for a maximum reward bounty to be put on the heads of any NATO troops sent to Ukraine. Now, Medvedev has a nominee for Gamer of the Year for the RG Awards. I'm just going to tell you guys now, Barbecue is just probably going to win. So he said such troops would be like Hitler's SS Punishers, and their bodies should be left on the field. So Medvedev is basically a troll at this point in time. Okay, so we covered that. So the average of the guys at the... Okay, so they're just going to start sending them in. And this is going to be it. It's going to lead to Russia collapsing somehow. How does that solve any of the like equipment shortages? How does that solve the artillery round shortage? It doesn't matter. But this is the plan. This is the plan that they've come up with. Okay, so let me see if I can find this. Temporary refund. Okay. So I want to play this for you.
If I'm going to bail the country out, I'll have to raise lie. Americans and vote.
Refund? Hey, sounds good to...
I will not mince words. Your country needs you. That's why today I'm proposing a temporary refund adjustment.
Refund? Hey, sounds good to me. Sure beats a tax.
We love you, President Simpson.
The months ahead will be long and arduous, but it is only through arduosity that if you like refund adjustments and the music I play, send a check to my friend Ralph, and he'll mail you a tape. This is my brother Bart.
Okay, so just wanted to probably get a copyright strike for that. Whatever. So this was from earlier today. Ukraine's $61 billion lifeline is not enough. So we had like 24 hours, maybe 48 hours of... So we had this. Everyone was excited. The 61 billion was passed. Everything was going great, but we're right back to the black pill. Like, that's got to be one of the shortest, like, white pills I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, last week Ukraine got the $61 billion minus 10% for the big guy. Once again, like I honestly think I'm pretty fair, and how I cover this. Maybe that's weird, but I don't think like, for instance, I've never shit on the Ukrainian army. If I can't think of a single time I've shit on like the Ukrainian soldiers. But like, what are you supposed to say when, like, and once again, everything I have is from Western sources. Like, a human being wrote this article who works for the fucking Spectator, who said if we send like 20,000 dudes to Western Ukraine, then like it's gonna win somehow, and that's where we have to keep the war. Like, it's just... Yeah, Johnny, you don't hate the media enough. It's not even possible. Combined with commitments with from other countries. The latest U.S. package, which will mostly provide Ukraine with weapons and train its troops, should see Kiev to the about the end of next year. It's going to be the end of next year, guys. That is certainly better than the situation the country faced a week ago when it was running dangerously low. But Ukraine could run out of weapons again in late 2025. Even if Joe Biden is reelected as U.S. president this November, he may struggle to get more money out of Congress. And if Trump returns to the White House, America's support for Ukraine will be even more precarious. Here, come here, Rain. Oh, there's a good kitty. There's a good kitty. So, American support for Ukraine. So, the $61 billion is not enough, but it's going to last to the end of next year. Like, what does that even mean? That seems like that's enough money. There's no fucking way that the $61 billion is going to last them till the end of next year. Although, once again, it's like, if you think about it, and I don't get why the U.S. has no money to send to Ukraine. The U.S. national debt is literally rising by $1 trillion every 100 days. So, I mean, like, this is just like a drop in the bucket. It's like, what, 3 days? It's like, what, less than a week of borrowing? Or maybe about a week of borrowing. It's a week of borrowing to give the $61 billion. And the $61 billion is going to go to the MIC anyways. Let's see here. Oh, that's amazing. I'm just looking at some of these side ones. Oy vey. It's like another Showa. It's not too late to dump Trump. It's time to act against anti-Semitic behavior on campus. You know, it's kind of weird that when people start protesting Israel, like, all these militarized police come out and just start arresting people and beating people up. Also, just a side note, and I mean, it's sometimes hard to tell who is Jill Stein has been arrested, the Green Party's candidate. So we have an American election now where 2 opposition candidates have been arrested. Obviously Trump and also Jill Stein. And once again, imagine if this was in like Russia, or, well, I mean, we know what happened in Russia. Imagine if this was in like any other country. There would immediately be regime change. Like the next day, there would be regime change. Sorry, let's get back to this. Okay. It would also boost Ukrainian morale, and give Western arms manufacturers greater confidence to ramp up production. Like, once again, this whole thing is just retarded. So, because it's a for-profit industry, the U.S. government can't just tell the arms manufacturers to make more stuff. They have to basically beg them to make more stuff and give them copiously massive amounts of money to do it, or else they just won't do it. So, no, like, Andy Annihilator, like, I don't care. Like, she's a communist. Like, I don't really care personally. My point is, there's so many countries that are getting regime changed at the moment, or in the process of getting regime changed because of democracy, and the U.S. is literally just has arrested 2 candidates. Ukraine is straining every sinew. Okay, so he might be able to negotiate a peace deal from a stronger position, or freeze the conflict. Why would Russia agree to a frozen conflict? Russia's $2 trillion economy was 11 times bigger than its own last year. Even though it's spent $65 billion in defense in 2023, it's probably way more than that. An astonishing 37% of economic output. Well, it wasn't its economic output, it was the West's economic output. That was dwarfed by Russia's $109 billion outlay, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Center. Western aid plugged the gap. Wait, okay, so Ukraine spent. Wait, what? So it spent 65 billion. But they got an additional 88 billion. So, okay, let me just do this. So 65 plus. I'm just gonna make sure my math is right. Would mean that Ukraine got $150 billion. So they got like 40. Their defense spending was 40% more than Russia's. If we add it together, I think that's it. It says 47 billion is, well, it doesn't matter. Okay, so basically Ukraine's been getting more money. So then we have total allocations by allied governments, which is about 80 billion euros a year. How much Kiev needs in the future depends on what sort of war it fights. A defensive campaign would cost less, but given that the Kremlin is ramping up its own military expenditure, Ukraine in future would probably need at least as much every year as the 88 billion euros from 2023. Let's see. So the European Union had committed but not yet allocated 103 billion euros. Add in the US package equivalent to 57 billion euros, and Kiev probably has enough to last. It's not going to. It's not going to. So we have all this money. I think it's much higher than that, to be honest. Okay, so here we go. Here comes the gay op to end all gay. I don't even really understand this, to be honest. They're gonna try to explain this, and it's just retarded. But the main way to get much more money to Ukraine is to mobilize Russian assets that Western countries stole at the front of the war, worth about $320 billion. Ideas include confiscating the assets, using them to support a loan that Western countries would give Ukraine, or handing Kiev the interest they generate. The U.S. is pushing a plan to raise money for Kiev by capitalizing interest payments building up at Euroclear, the clearinghouse in Belgium where most of the assets are held. A special purpose vehicle would probably issue a bond backed by future interest rates and pay the proceeds to Ukraine. The United States hopes to persuade its partners in the G7 rich democracies to back the idea. If the countries guarantee interest for the rest of the decade, they might raise 30 to 40 billion euros. So, I don't even understand this. So, there's going to be so Ukraine is going to issue bonds that will be backed by the future interest on the Russian frozen assets. So I guess the Western countries will pay Ukraine $30 to $40 billion in bonds, but then they'll get all the interest for the next decade. Is that what they're thinking of? Well, this will help. It will not be a game changer because it will fund Ukraine for less than half a year. I like how that's how deep in the hole we're at. We're like half a year is nothing. Getting Kiev $320 billion, however, would be a different proposition that would finance the war until at least the end of 2024. So that's 2028. That is wildly optimistic. There's no fucking way it's going to go on that long. If the belligerents ended or froze the conflict before then, Ukraine could use some of the money to rebuild its economy. Although Biden now has the authority to seize Russian funds, only about 5 billion of the assets are in the United States. The bulk are in European countries which have legal qualms about confiscating them. No shit. A more realistic alternative, therefore, is a syndicated reparation loan. A scheme I developed. I like how he just calls it a scheme. So it's okay. So who wrote this? Let me just see here. I have a. Okay, let me see. I'm just gonna check. No, he's just a good guy. It looks like a very good guy. Let's see. Where is it again? I'm just... Where did I put the article? Wow, I'm having a massive brain fart. There we go. Okay, so... A veteran legal expert in sovereign debt and some Sikh dude who wrote in a personal capacity before he became the U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor for International Economics in February. Wow, that's a long title. And, okay, so let's see if we can explain this. Now, the people in the chat, let me know if you understand what the fuck this even is, because I think I have it, but this is just retarded. Okay. So Ukraine would pledge its claim for reparations against Russia to a syndicate of its allies in return for a loan. If Moscow refuses to pay the damages, the allies could use Russia's frozen assets to pay off the loan. This is legally more robust than confiscation. Okay, so Ukraine is going to claim that they're owed reparations from Russia. Even though Russia hasn't agreed to reparations, they're going to claim that Russia is going to give them reparations. And so they're going to put up the 300 billion as collateral for the loan on behalf of Russia. And then when Russia refuses to pay the reparations, they're going to confiscate the money. Because Russia will default on the loan. So it's basically like you take out a mortgage on your neighbor's house, and if he doesn't make payments on it, no, you take out a mortgage on your neighbor's house without his knowledge, and if he doesn't make payments on it, it gets repossessed. Like, it doesn't make any... I've never heard of something like this before in my life. Like, has anyone in the chat, have any of you guys heard of something like this? Like, I have no idea what it even is. A more ambitious. Okay, so let's see what this madness. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so let's see papers. Ukraine has an indubitable claim under international law for the damages caused by Russia's unprovoked of Ukraine. Wait, what? I'm not hallucinating, am I? It doesn't, like, they fucked it up. This like paper justifying the $100 million, the $300 billion has a fucking massive error in the first, like, chapter. Like, what? What is even happening? What is even fucking going on? I don't even know. Let's see here. Okay. No, it's in the actual paper. it's in the actual paper that they fucked up that bad. Wow. For its part, because it's supposed to be saying Russia's unprovoked invasion of Ukraine, but they fucked it up. Like, they aren't sending their A game. Like, we've been dealing with this constantly. Like, we dealt with this with regards to the whole like the $61 billion bill that had all kinds of mistakes in it and didn't make any sense. Does not have the custody of the frozen assets. Okay, so syndicated reparations loan. Through a syndicated loan provided by G7 governments, the loan would be collateralized by Kiev's claim for war damages against Moscow. In the most likely scenario, the G7 would set off the Kremlin's $300 billion in frozen assets as claims against the reparations. That is the plan. If the war ends, it would rely on two solid legal principles. So that is the plan. Okay, so here we go. Let's go through the like Wile E. Coyote-esque plan we have here. The G7 provides Ukraine with a syndicated loan. Ukraine pledges its claim against Russia for reparations as collateral security for that loan. The loan is structured as a limited recourse obligation, with the collateral being the sole source for repayment. The loan does not call for payment of current interest. Instead, the interest is rolled up and added to the principal when the loan is payable. Once Ukraine's claim for war damages is assessed by an internationally recognized body, Kiev asks Moscow to provide the money. If Russia pays, then Ukraine repays the loan using those funds. If Russia refuses to pay, the syndicate forecloses on its collateral and assumes title to Kiev's reparation claim against Moscow. The lenders then set off Russians' frozen assets against the claim. So this is the plan. Like, I don't even get it. Like, to me, it would be less sketchy to just steal the money. Like, just take the fucking money. Like, what is this? I've never heard of something like that before. Now, there is a particular country that is very much against this because they think it's going to set a very bad precedent. And it's something that they really don't want to have to deal with. This idea that you can borrow against possible future reparations. Now, what country do you think it was? Is it that is worried about the precedent that this could start? It's kind of hard to think of it. It's only if there was a country that a lot of other countries have a historical beef against and who have been talking about reparations for some time now, particularly Poland. They might want to get in on this deal and take out a loan against Germany. And Poland could say, well, we're going to get future reparations from Germany, so we want to take out a loan and use German assets as collateral for the loan. So Poland might. So Germany is against this. Germany says this is a really bad idea. But Germany is led by the F-slur Olaf Scholz. So he's probably just going to go along with it. Like he went along with Nord Stream being destroyed. Now, as a little bonus, China is doing a concern troll. China is doing an amazing concern troll. China's calling for an investigation of Nord Stream. That's not good. That's really not good. Called for UN-led investigation of the Nord Stream thing. I don't think we want that to happen. I don't think we do. So there it is. That's all the insane stuff that happened. Thank you everybody for participating. God